Fontaine fellow is somebody to watch. Once he was just a menace, to be convicted and hung. But he always manages to be where the evidence isn't. He's the most dangerous type of hoodlum. The kind with vision.
Frank Fontaine initially appeared a worthy competitor with his plasmid business. But when he started pulling the great chain in a direction Andrew Ryan did not like, his admiration for Fontaine disappeared. The veil had dropped and Ryan saw Fontaine for who he really was, a common scam artist, which described him well, since that was his occupation on the surface. Fontaine was not his real last name. He had gone by many over the years, including Barris, Winston, Moskowitz, and Wang. Very few knew his real last name. As a young boy, he worked at a vaudeville theater, where he'd learn the craft of acting and develop his skills of blending into any environment. Moving to New York, he adopted the name Gorland and established a bookmaking business. Soon afterwards, he'd claim ownership of the bar, The Clanger, under dubious circumstances. This became the headquarters of his many grifts. The bar acted as a rumor mill, supplying Gorland with valuable tidbits along the docks. One such tidbit hinted at the real intentions of Andrew Ryan's operations. Curious, Gorland investigated further and discovered that Ryan was building a city under the ocean, and Gorland wanted in. Luckily for him, he learned of a smuggler who provided Ryan's workers with fish, a Frank Fontaine, owner of Fontaine Fisheries. Gorland convinced Fontaine to sell his fishery to him. But on the night of the exchange, Gorland knocked Fontaine out and threw his body into the ocean, drowning him. Before anyone caught wise to what he had done, he fired Fontaine's old crew, then hired a completely new crew who had never met their new boss before, and assumed the name Frank Fontaine. For the better part of a year, Fontaine sent flattering letters to Ryan with each shipment, hoping to enter Ryan's good graces. The plan worked, and in 1948, Fontaine was formally invited to live in Rapture. The biggest grift of his life was now underway, and to pull this off, he brought with him several loyal men he trusted to help in his smuggling operations.
We all come down here. Figured we'd all be part of Ryan's great chain. Turns out Ryan's chain is made of gold, and ours are the sort with the big iron ball around your ankle. He's up in Fort Frolic banging fashion models. We're down in this dump yanking guts out of fish. Fontaine's promising something better. He's like one of us, you know? Like he's worked a day in his life. He says meet him at his fish packing joint at 11. I'll go, bring a couple of guys. Hey, it's not like things could get a lot worse.
Fontaine didn't bring me down here for my skills as a stevedore. He needed guys who could keep their mouths shut. I look at it like this. Everyone's a crook of some kind or another, and us guys who admit it, we got a leg up on them that don't.
Now, with everything laid out bare in front of him, Andrew Ryan recognized how big of a threat Frank Fontaine was to Rapture. And with Sophia Lamb behind bars, he could finally concentrate his energy on stifling Fontaine.
Something must be done about Fontaine. While I was buying buildings and fish futures, he was cornering the market on genotypes and nucleotide sequences. Rapture is transforming before my eyes. The great chain is pulling away from me. Perhaps it's time to give it a tug.
Ryan tapped Sullivan, the head of security, to scrounge up evidence connecting Frank Fontaine to the smuggling ring. Sullivan did as he was told, but came up empty.
I'm closing in on the whole ring. I'd pat myself on the back, but let's face it, these aren't exactly bloodthirsty desperados we're talking about. Rapture's full of poets, artists, and tennis players, not hired guerrillas. But this leader of theirs, this Fontaine, he seems to know his way around the grift. He keeps his nose clean, but not so clean that the right people don't know he's not to be trifled with.
Hard-pressed, Sullivan eventually resorted to more extreme tactics to get the information he wanted.
Now the eggs are in the scramble. We picked up Timmy Yates right after midnight. Either Ryan will be taking down Fontaine, or Fontaine will be taking down Ryan. We'll be interviewing poor Timmy near Fontaine Fisheries. If you're up for an Mr. Ryan asked me personally to make this clear to you. You give us Fontaine and this whole filthy ring of his, and you'll be knocking back pints up at the Fighting McDonough's. But if you prefer to play the mule, we'll treat you like a mule. Give him a taste, Patrick. What's that? Change of heart, Timmy? Timmy! Ready to talk now?
Go on, Sullivan. Go on and do your dirty. Whatever Ryan thinks he can do to me, Fontaine can do double!
Timmy H. wouldn't survive the interrogation, and Sullivan hit another brick wall. No matter how hard he tried, none of the smugglers would give up Fontaine. Apparently, they were more afraid of him than they were of Ryan. Understandable, considering Fontaine's working conditions.
All right, here's the code. 9332. You use it on your cell if you want, but remember this. Once you walk out of that cell, you belong to Fontaine. You're walking out of one jail and into another. Do what you want. Just don't kid yourself by thinking you want any kind of freedom.
Desperate, Ryan intensified the situation by instituting the death penalty for anyone convicted of smuggling. Naturally, the public protested over the draconian decree.
The death penalty and Rapture. Council's in an uproar. Riots in the streets, they say. But this is the time for leadership. Action must be taken against the smugglers. Any contact with the surface exposes Rapture to the very parasites we fled from. A few stretched necks or a small price to pay for our deals.
The worsening situation began to affect everyone connected, casting loyalties and friendships into question. Even affecting those like Sullivan, who had been loyal to Ryan since the beginning, and even conducted much of his dirty work.
Hanging now, is it? That's what we've come to? Now look, I don't make the laws here, I just enforce them. But I didn't come to Rapture to string men up for running contraband. If Ryan and his crew have their law, then they can have my badge.
He would be but the first of many to have a change of heart, as Ryan stepped up his war on smuggling. As for Frank Fontaine, he was busy building an army. Replicating Sophia Lamb's Rapture family, Fontaine pivoted to the charity angle and established Fontaine's Home for the Poor, which provided help to those fallen on hard times.
These sad saps. They come to Rapture thinking they're gonna be captains of industry. But they all forget that somebody's gotta scrub the toilets. What an angle they gave me. I hand these mugs a cot and a bowl of soup, and they give me their lives. Who needs an army when I got Fontaine's Home for the Poor?
Bill McDonough saw through this immediately.
This Fontaine fellow, he's a crook and a proper tea leaf, but he's got the atom, and that makes him the governor. Sinking the profits back into bigger and better plasmids, building them Fontaine poorhouses. Like Fontaine recruiting centres. Before we know it, bloke's gonna have an army of splicers. And we're gonna have ourselves a whole heap of miseries.
Fontaine used the new recruits as test subjects of his latest combat-based plasmid research, turning them into splicers, those heavily affected by atom usage. Consuming too much atom not only deformed their bodies beyond repair, but it degenerated their minds as well, leading to multiple reports of seeing ghosts.
Seems like some poor blighters have started seeing ghosts. Ghosts! Ryan tells me it's a side effect of this plasmid business. One poor sod's memory is getting passed on to another through genetic sampling. Leaks, lunatics, rebellion, and now bleeding ghosts. Ain't life in Rapture grand?
The more addicted someone became of Adam, the more they devolved into something like zombies, constantly seeking their next Adam feed.
Listen, my supplier's got a new shipment of plasmids coming in, and I need you to pick them up from the lab in Hedon Plaza. There's a hidden switch to open the back door. It's tucked away under the cash register in the shop front. And don't let nobody see you do it. Otherwise, we'll have splicers crawling all over the damn place trying to get a taste.
What
do they expect? You keep enough drug stash in this clinic to slice up a rhinoceros. Of course every poor soul in a drop's gonna start beating down your door. It's my job to think up a new key code to keep them out. Seems like every other day now. Nuts. I'll mull it over for a while at the Fishbowl Diner.
Despite the degenerative effects of Adam on the populace, Ryan still refused to do anything about the situation.
Is there blood in the streets? Of course. Have some chosen to destroy themselves with careless splicing? Undeniable. But I will make no proclamations. I will dictate no laws. The great chain moves slowly, but with wisdom. It is our impatience that invites in the parasite of big government. And once you've invited it in, it will never stop feeding on the body of the city.
Amassing an army of splicers was only half of the charity work, however. The other half involved the Little Sister orphanages. Here, young girls were forced into the Little Sisters program to become producers of Adam. Dr. Bridget Tenenbaum oversaw this operation. Initially, she was cold and indifferent to the children forced to act as hosts to the sea slugs. But as she interacted with the half-dead, half-alive subjects, as they acted and played like little girls, something inside her began to change.
One of the children came and sat in my lap. I push her off. I shout, "Get away from me!" I can see the Adam oozing out of the corner of her mouth, is thick and green. Her filthy hair hanging in her face, dirty clothes, and that dead glow in her eye. I feel hatred, like I never felt before, in my chest, bitter, burning fury. I can barely breathe. And suddenly I know, it is not this child I hate.
What makes something like me? I look at genes all day long, and never do I see the blueprint of sin. I could blame the Germans, but in truth I did not find tormentors in the prison camp, but kindred spirits. These children I brutalized have awoken something inside that for most is beautiful and natural, but in me is an abomination. My maternal instinct.
Tenenbaum's newfound guilt prompted her to correct her mistakes, to find a cure for Adam's sickness and free the girls from their condition.
Adam is a predatory substance. After exposure, a constant supply is required to maintain its effects. Otherwise, the user deteriorates into madness. My plasmid, which releases the little ones from their servitude, is promising, but limited. It only works on the children with the slugs in their bellies. On an adult splicer or Big Daddy, you'll see rejection effect. Undesirable. But if the deterioration of mind and body were reversible, if Adam's sickness could be cured, then its predatory nature would be no more.
A conflict of interest arose between Tenenbaum and her employer, Fontaine, leading to Tenenbaum's termination.
Looks like things have gone busto between Fontaine and his little German beanpole. Why a guy like Fontaine would waste his time with that spooky crowd when he could be getting the gravy from any dish he chooses is beyond the understanding of this paparazzi. Even reset the door code to 5744. Maybe to be double sure that beanpole don't sprout up in his yard again.
For the next several months, Tenenbaum went into hiding as the situation between Ryan and Fontaine escalated further. For Ryan, he refused to budge on his death penalty stance for smuggling.
This started out as simple. Take Fontaine's mini sub back topside twice a week. Pick up some choice goods not available in a remote place like Rapture, you know. Beef, real tobacco, just a little extras. But now, Ryan and his type have up and called smuggling a hanging crime. Hanging? Says any connection to the surface could destroy the city. For long, only difference between this place and topside is whether or not you can open up the damn windows.
For Fontaine, he ensured no one stepped out of line.
Fontaine's putting the screws on us, and double. He's squeezing us out of 80 points of our cut with the threat of turning us into Ryan if we don't play ball. Son of a bitch. Sammy G comes and tells me he's thinking of going to the constable. And the next day, Sammy G was found in a sack in a salt pond. We got no choice here. We stay on Fontaine's crew and we're gonna catch the gallows. We take a powder, and we end up like Sammy G. Oh, there's gotta be another way.
The nerves of those caught in between Ryan and Fontaine's feud frayed horribly as the situation progressed beyond the point of no return. When Fontaine began distributing experimental plasmids in preparation for a fight.
Frank Fontaine called me in the other day. Me, Ray Lardner. Says trouble's coming and he's passing out special plasmids to all his best guys. I mean, it's an honor, but man, I started getting these shingles all over. Skin's discolored. Like when a guy's about to lose a limb, you know? And I can't seem to pile on enough clothes. I hate to ask, but is this happening to everybody?
Around the same time, Sullivan's investigation achieved its biggest break when he found someone willing to turn on Fontaine.
The Irish pork pie offered me a deal. I flip him Fontaine and I walk out of here. That simple. How do I know that fat fuck isn't Fontaine's guy? How do I know they're not all Fontaine's guy? Fontaine's got Adam, and everybody wants it. Ryan's got a whole lot of talk and a nice suit. Even down here, any idiot can see which way the wind is blowing.
With Peach Wilkinson's information, Ryan went to the council to persuade them to finally put an end to Fontaine's smuggling operation. But McDonough offered a word of advice.
Mr. Ryan, I believe in Rapture, but that doesn't mean we always win. Fontaine Futuristics is the biggest thing going in Rapture. So let me be plain. When we arrest that tow rag Fontaine for his thieving and smuggling, we must make it clear that we won't touch his business interests. We sit on the council because these poor sods trust us, not because God gave us a chair.
On September 12th, 1958, Ryan's men advanced on Fontaine Futuristics. But unbeknownst to them, Fontaine was ready for them.
Fontaine knew our blokes were coming. We were done over. Them splicers come screaming out the woodwork, burping fire, spitting ice. Demons out of the Bible they were. I've never seen nothing like it. It wasn't a business he was building. It was an army.
A bloody firefight ensued, leading to the death of dozens on both sides. But when the smoke cleared, Ryan's men proved victorious, with Fontaine killed in the onslaught. Or at least, that's what they thought.
Every time Ryan turns up the heat, I know I'm a little bit closer to beating him at his own game. But now the game's changing. Ryan's boys are coming in heavy, looking to knock down my door and take what's mine. Like this is the first time I had to dodge a bullet. They're coming to my house expecting a show, but they're gonna get a disappearing act. Say goodbye to Fontaine, and hello to Atlas.
With Fontaine believed dead, Bill McDonough laid out what needed to be done next.
The good people of Rapture didn't sign up to see us government types shutting down shops, killing their owners, even with a ponce like Fontaine. But he brung it upon himself. Instead of copping it on the chin, bugger gets it into his head that he's gonna go down guns blazing. Who does he think he is, John bloody Wayne? We can get on top of this. We can. Here's what we do. We find Fontaine's will and make what was his go to where it was intended, and not into the pockets of us that put him into the ground.
However, Andrew Ryan initiated other plans that greatly upset McDonough and set in motion a dangerous chain of events.
Ryan nationalised Fontaine Futuristics. He owns it now, lock, stock and barrel. For the good of the city, he says. He'll break it up in due time, he says. I've resigned from the council and lodged me letter of protest, but that's just pissing in the wind. It'll be war, I say, unless somebody stops Ryan, and right fast.
Ryan's hostile takeover of Fontaine Futuristics should have marked the end of Yi Su Chong, the doctor in charge of plasmid development. He believed he'd be imprisoned with Fontaine's splicers in Fontaine's department store, which had been converted into a makeshift detention facility. But surprisingly, this provided Suchong with a new opportunity.
When Ryan take over Fontaine Futuristics, scene of terrible violence. Splicers burning each other to bits. Lucky ones not killed, sent to department store prison instead. Suchong think he dead man too. But then, Ryan comes to Suchong and says, Suchong want to be buried in filthy store, or Suchong want to make a good salary, work for Ryan? How much salary? Asks Suchong. This, Ryan find very funny.
Fontaine is dead. Bad for Fontaine. Good for Suchong. Play hard to get for a bit. Then Mr. Ryan get hungry for me. Tenenbaum gone, Fontaine gone. Suchong only one who know all about little sisters. Like I said, it is very good for Suchong.
With Fontaine Futuristics under his control, Andrew Ryan now saw for the first time what was going on behind the scenes, and was amazed at the prospects.
I'll admit Fontaine showed some foresight when he built up the plasmid business, but the man really never understood sales. Hiding those little girls beneath a bushel. I've just seen the preliminary design work on the new plasmid machines, and they're exactly what I wanted. Mark my words, presented properly, those little sisters are marketing gold.
But first, Ryan would rest on his laurels for a bit and reflect on the success of his actions.
This facility belongs to the city now, to Ryan Industries, at least until the rioting subsides. While it is unfortunate that such measures had to be taken, I must admit, it is gratifying to see this building condemned. Fontaine is gone, Lamb is gone, or close enough. I am alone at last, alone with my city.
All was calm, but it proved to just be the calm before the storm. For in a few months' time, Atlas, the revolutionary, would whip the city into a frenzy.